All right, what's up, guys? I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Why don't you type in where you're tuning in from? Love to hear. And tonight, I'm going to be talking about semen retention and how it helps you to reset your body and really your mind, your spirit as well. There's many levels to this. New Zealand, awesome. Day 14, awesome, brother. Alberta's in Canada. Oh, no, Alberta, Canada. Colorado. UK, Glastonbury, sorry. All right, guys, so semen retention, it helps you to reset your body. It really does. So most men are in this pattern of being so addicted to these certain sexual habits that are draining them of energy. Specifically, porn addiction is an epidemic for men, in this modern world. And it's something that's become, so socially acceptable, and it's really quite normalized in a way to be a porn addict, and it certainly was when I was a teenager. It was like all my friends were like, oh, watching porn every day, and check out this video, and you don't even think twice about it until you're in your 20s, and all of a sudden, you can't get it up when you're trying to get it on with your girlfriend. So it's this huge issue, and semen retention helps you to reset this, because obviously to practice semen retention, you need to cut porn out of your life, because it just stimulates you to be ejaculating all the time, just wasting your energy. So one of the crucial steps is stop watching porn. And specifically the fact that watching porn wreaks havoc on your dopamine receptors in your brain, and really fucks with your desire reward chemistry, right? It's like your brain thinks, okay, well, I just had sex with this hot girl, because the brain doesn't know what's real and what's not, right? An image of a female is an image of a female, whether it's in person or not. So the brain's like, okay, well, I had sex with this girl, so I don't need to get another erection for this girl you're physically with now, because you already got it on with this porn star, right? So it really fucks with your brain. So when you stop watching porn, your dopamine goes back to normal, which means that you're not depressed, anxiety ridden, low motivation all the time. How many men in this world are depressed, full of anxiety? They don't have the motivation to do the things that they want, right? Because so many of us are slaves to our sexual drive. So releasing this pattern of addiction and relying on this excessive stimulation from the outside world helps you to get back into your center, get back into a balanced state. And the pattern of masturbation for stress relief, it's a very common pattern. It's like, because you release energy when you ejaculate, specifically when you masturbate and ejaculate, you release your energy, and it becomes so addicting, because it's like, oh, I'm stressed, so I just release this energy, then I feel great. Well, you feel great for about 15 seconds, then you feel this low state of depression, and so as soon as you can, you try to masturbate again, have another orgasm, ejaculate, release your energy, and it's this vicious cycle of depletion, basically, and it doesn't end anywhere good. So when you stop doing that, when you stop ejaculating frequently, you start to build energy. You start to rebalance your hormonal system, your endocrine system. The genitals are the root of the endocrine system. All these endocrine glands in the body, they're all fill from the ground up. So when your sexual center is full, these sexual endocrine glands are full, then the rest of the system is full and balanced as well. But when you're constantly ejaculating, you're pouring out your cup, you're pouring out your vitality, and now it has to pull from the higher centers, and so you're in depletion mode, and your hormonal system gets out of whack as well. When men ejaculate, the body secretes prolactin, which is a hormone that causes testosterone levels to lower. It tends to give you this feeling of sort of contentment. We're like, okay, I've accomplished what I need to do. I'm just gonna kind of lay around and relax. That's why you feel so apathetic, and your energy is low after ejaculating. That's why you just want to go to sleep. Your hormones, your chemistry is different. Your testosterone's low, and it's fine when it's here and there, but when it's every day, then you're constantly in this level of low testosterone, high prolactin. And that's why there's so many men in this world who are lazy, they're feminine, they're not accomplishing anything, they're not out doing things, they're sitting at home, laying on the couch watching Netflix. That's kind of the situation of this world right now. And so by practicing semen retention, you get out of this pattern. You stop using masturbation to relieve stress, and you start to build your energy. But what you find is pretty much, after a little bit of this, you start to build all this energy and you have to put it into things. So now you're out in the world accomplishing things. Sitting on the couch watching Netflix is not going to cut it anymore. You want to go out into the world, because you have all this energy. Now you have enough energy to fulfill your purpose, to fulfill your mission. So you become very, very driven. You become very mission oriented because you're in your masculine power, the masculine essence. The masculine aspect is all about expanding, going out to the world, spreading your nature, changing the world, the external world. And so by practicing semen retention helps you to step into this masculine power, accomplish your mission, really make an impact in this world. Testosterone levels increase when you practice semen retention. This is scientifically verified. I've seen various studies. One they did in China where a group of men, they took about 28 men and half of them ejaculated every day, half of them retained. And on day 7, the ones who retained, their testosterone peaked by 150%, scientific test. And I've seen other studies where they found that people who retain, in general, their testosterone levels stay at much higher levels than men who ejaculate every day. Worldwide, men's testosterone levels are lowering. There's various reasons, diet, lack of exercise, pollution, EMF waves, things like this are affecting testosterone levels. So you need anything you can do to keep your hormones balanced and stay on your game. And semen retention helps you to do this. And it starts to build these patterns of accomplishment in your life, because watching porn gives you this false dopamine release, this false sense of accomplishment. That desire reward chemistry in the brain, it really messes with it. So you become content just sitting at your home, whacking off to porn all day. And when you stop doing that, then again, you start to build up this drive to really actually accomplish things. And you get a dopamine release naturally because you've gone to the gym, you've done a workout, or you've built a business, you've created a relationship, whatever. You start to get this natural feel-good chemistry in your body because you're driven to go accomplish things now. Again, because you're in your masculine essence. And you have so much more creativity in your life. So many people rely on drugs. They rely on substances to, first of all, just to get out of bed in the morning. A lot of people need a high dose of caffeine. And a lot of people rely on weed to feel creative. Various substances, they need alcohol to socialize. So you become reliant on these external things that are actually causing all kinds of issues physically for you. By practicing semen retention, you naturally have this high level of creative energy. This is what a lot of my students tell me, that they're starting to practice semen retention and they're saying, wow, I've never had so many ideas, so much inspiration, so much like drive to go create things in my life. And I've experienced the same things as well. Yerba mate, I used to drink a lot of yerba mate. I really like it. It's great, but I personally can't have much caffeine. I become quite sensitive to it. Also, excessive amounts of caffeine can tap out your kidney energy, which will weaken your sexual drive. But in general, with yerba mate, if you have it in moderation, you'll be fine. And so when you practice semen retention, you're so much more driven to engage in real life and be authentic. Again, you're not addicted to porn, sitting at home whacking off on your computer for hours, completely wasting your life. You want to go out into the world, engage in real life, really accomplish things. And this is why the greatest accomplishers in the world, the greatest thinkers, were men who practiced semen retention. People like Nikola Tesla, Muhammad Ali, even Steve Jobs, talked about retaining his semen during sex. And Isaac Newton, all these great accomplishers understood the power of retaining their semen. So it's very important, guys. I'm going to ask some questions. Even if you retain with masturbation contraction method, I'm not sure what you mean by that. How long does it take to really reset one's brain from years of masturbation and or porn? I think it's different for each person, but kind of the no-fap thing is you go 90 days without watching porn, without masturbation, and you usually have a complete rewiring in that. My own approach was a bit different, but in general, it takes a bit of time, but the key is creating new patterns in your life. So if you want to replace something, you have to bring something new in to put your energy into, or else you're just going to create the space that's going to be filled back in with negative habits. Any practice you can do after eating? So I presume Qigong should be done on an empty stomach after small amounts of alcohol. You can still do Qigong after you're eating. It's better to do on an empty stomach, but Uh, all the practices you can do after eating, you can do whatever you want. But sometimes it's better when your stomach's not full of food. I don't recommend practice after alcohol, as it's an intoxicant and kind of messes with your energetic system. I completely avoid alcohol personally. What if you like to wank off while out in the world? Then you're probably going to end up in prison. Do you still drink alcohol? No, I have not touched alcohol in like 5 years now. To me, it's a vile poison that I have no desire to have. I mean, I think it's fine if you have it in moderation, but personally, just like a sip of alcohol, it just does not make me feel well. I do not like alcohol at all. Are you vegan? I am not vegan. I did try the vegan diet, but it was not optimal for my body and my vitality. My sex drive really plummeted on the vegan diet. Are you Taoist? I'm not a Taoist. I don't have any title for what I am. I'm very influenced by the Taoist teachings, and I practice a lot of Taoist arts, but I don't call myself a Taoist. I have no desire to. I don't want to like put myself in a box and say, oh, I'm this, but I'm not that. I'm open to this belief, but I'm not open to that belief. So I have no title for, what I consider myself to be. Do you think semen retention by itself is enough, or do you think it is important to pair semen retention with practices that move sexual energy? Excellent question. No, I don't think semen retention by itself is quite enough. You will get some benefits just by retaining your semen, regulating your ejaculation, but to really get the benefits, you want to move the energy of that semen through the body. So in various traditions of the world, the Taoists talk about internal alchemy, where you refine basically the sperm energy, the jing. You refine that into qi, which is energy, and you refine the qi into shen, which is the spiritual essence. And that's the path of immortality, they say. And the yogis, talk about in brahmacharya, basically the same thing. Turning that sexual energy into spirit. So this is why in my course I teach all of these energetic practices to transmute your sexual energy, because that's how you get the highest benefits of it. Again, I always say that this sexual energy doesn't do you a lot of good just sitting in your balls. You want to move it throughout your body. That's how you really get the highest benefits of semen retention. So you can do standing meditation after eating. You can. I mean, it's better to do it. Again, it's better to do it like before, or at least like an hour after eating. But if it's the only time you practice, you can try it. I wouldn't do it after like a giant meal. Meditation is satanic. How is meditation satanic? Jesus went and meditated for I think it was like 6 weeks or something in the desert. Do you believe in use or lose it? Yes, I do. My approach is not suppression. I'm not saying never touch your penis. That is not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying don't ejaculate. It's important to do exercises. The Taoists call it sharpening the sword, exercising your penis, genital weightlifting. That can be extreme for people, but just like massaging, stretching, strengthening this area of your body. I definitely believe in use it or lose it. And that's what's going to give you the highest hormonal balance, is exercising your manhood. How did you incorporate all the energetic practices into your daily life? I just did them. Even when I was working full time, I used to work in this restaurant. I'd be up at like 5 a.m. I'd work, I'd get off at like 3 p.m. I'd come home, I'd jump on my bike, ride to the park, and I would do an hour and a half of my practice out in the park every day. So you can do this stuff even when you're living a busy life. And that's a big focal point of my course, is making this applicable to anyone's life. I give you all these schedules, things you work on every day. You have all the time in the world. It's just a fact, the things that you are spending your time on are the things that you're prioritizing. So it tells you a lot about yourself, what you're prioritizing, how you spend your time. So anyone can incorporate these practices into their life. Even when you're living a busy life, there's really no excuse. Now, if you have time to be watching this right now, you have time to practice. So is semen fully broken down and absorbed after 70 days? I've heard that 70 days is the counter. So yes, eventually the body reabsorbs the sperm. And so really, you're always going to be creating new sperm, but the changes that happen with ejaculating don't happen when you're retaining your semen, such as the prolactin release, the the suppression of the androgen receptors, which bind to hormones like testosterone and things like that. So your body actually kind of shuts down self-repair mode when you ejaculate. What is your craziest attraction story? So I used to be a musician. I'd go play these like little gigs like out in restaurants and bars and things like that. And it was always my dream, like, some hot girl's gonna come and be like impressed with my guitar playing, want to hook up with me, but that never happened. But once I started practicing semen retention, I'm out playing this like dinky little restaurant, out in downtown in the city where I live. And I start playing and these girls are just like, woo, like, I'm like, what's going on here? They're just like, obviously attracted to me, and they ended up like inviting themselves over to my house afterwards. So like, this stuff is real, guys. So that's my craziest attraction story, I guess. I mean, there's been, several other things like that as well. Okay, what's your opinion on marijuana? I believe it has completely expanded my consciousness to the point it serves no purpose but a high now. Can't stop smoking, or I'd be thinking about smoking. So I think that marijuana can be beneficial or it can be harmful. Depends on your relationship with it. So I used to be a daily pot smoker, and I will say that having weed every day is not beneficial. It does have, again, it has its strengths. Like for someone who's very closed-minded, they've never had like any sort of spiritual experience or anything, it can really open you up to subtle realms and subtle energy. Or if you have like health issues, obviously there's a lot of health benefits to weed, but in general, I don't think that smoking it every day, or however you're taking it, consuming it every day, it's going to throw you out of balance, basically. I think the minimum, if you're like recreationally, having weed, or like for whatever reasons, ceremonial, I think the minimum would be like once a week, but even that might be too much for some people. So that's my opinion about marijuana. Like I said, I've had it before, and I would definitely not recommend having it every day. It really gives you a lot of brain fog, and it can affect your sexual energy as well. What are your thoughts on astral projection? I've heard that moving sexual energy raises your vibration, which helps astral projection. Thoughts on this? You can help build your energy body with the sexual energy. I used to be really into this stuff. I was a frequent lucid dreamer. I used to play around with astral projection, and I was actually better at it before I got into this stuff, but I haven't been focusing on it as much. So it can definitely help, but I guess the real test is to try it yourself. It's going to be different for everybody. Do you personally do Kegels every day and reverse Kegels? Right now, I'm doing reverse Kegels every day, and I'm doing full Kegels about every other day, because I'm finding reverse Kegels are more important than the contraction. Because a lot of people do Kegels incorrectly and make their premature ejaculation much worse. So reverse Kegels are great for sure. All right, I'm just answering questions. Do my best to answer everybody's questions. What's the difference between semen retention and multi-orgasm? I don't have a problem with porn, but I have sex once a week or so. Semen retention is retaining your semen. Multi-orgasm is just having more than one multi-orgasm. I don't think I quite understand your question. Do I take any psychedelics? I have in the past, but it's been several years. Again, I'm not really into substances these days because they can deplete your gene. I think if used wisely, they're fine, but a lot of people kind of go overboard with them. After some time of training, will the sexual energy travel through the body on its own without the practice? I will say it becomes more natural for the sexual energy to move, but the chi goes where the mind flows. So it depends what your focal point is, which is one thing that becomes natural with your practice, is that it becomes more effortless to move it up. But like if you're focusing on your partner, completely, or if you're just focusing out here in the external world, you're still going to end up dispersing your energy, basically. So I don't think it ever becomes quite automatic, but it becomes a lot more effortless. Is it true what they say about shilajit and semen? I'm not sure what you mean. What about shilajit and semen? Shilajit is a great supplement. Can semen retention reverse aging? I don't know if it can reverse aging, but it can definitely slow it down. But some people do start looking much younger after they practice semen retention. I know people who started to regrow their hair, like when they were going balding by retaining their semen. Will deep breathing exercises every day help clear unconscious negative patterns? It can definitely be helpful. Mindful breathing is helpful. It may not be enough to do everything. It depends, how deeply ingrained the pattern is. But in general, breathing practices can be very helpful. Do you recommend taking ginseng at the beginning or when you get advanced in sexual kung fu? It depends on your constitution. There's no one herb that's good for everyone. Ginseng can be very heating. I can't take ginseng except for American ginseng. It's a little cooler, but Korean and Chinese ginseng are very, very yang. If I take it, I just like my heart pounds and I can't sleep and I sweat a lot. So ginseng, it depends. You want to talk to an herbalist. Leo, yes, your chats are being received. Did you have a question? Do I have to ejaculate at some point or can I go forever? You can do whatever you want. How many times I just lost my Instagram feed. Hey guys on Instagram, I just lost my feed, so I'm just answering questions right now after the live I did. So here's a question. How many times a day should we pray? How many times a day should we do the microcosmic orbit meditation for beginners? I think once a day is fine. Spend 10 to 15 minutes on it and progress from there. For beginners, is it better to start with solo cultivation than dual cultivation? Yes. When you're with a partner, there's so much more excitement, so much more arousal, and it becomes difficult to discern what's your sexual energy, what's your partner's, and it's difficult to undo all these patterns and conditioning you have with the partner often. And plus, you don't want to like bring the sense of technique into your lovemaking with a partner. You want to be like, hold on, I got to do this thing, for my own energy. You want it to be effortless and spontaneous with your partner. So that's why you train by yourself. Get to know your own energy, get to know your own arousal response, and then you can effortlessly, dance with your partner. What's your username on the Dow Bums forum? I actually I don't think I have a profile on there. I'm always on that forum, like checking things out, but I haven't really like actively post. I'm more of a lurker on there. It's a great forum though. What's the difference between Jing, Qi, and Shen? Are they completely different energies, or are they just the same energy in different forms? Yeah, they're the same thing in different forms. They're different frequencies. So it's like the comparison is ice to water to steam. So Jing is the physical essence. It's very in line with our reproductive fluids, our hormones, though that it's more than that. So it's like the raw physical essence. It's what's giving shape to the physical form. Qi is like the water, so it's fluid, it's moving. This is more what we consider as energy. So it's like in line with our emotions, this flow of energy. And then Shen is like spiritual essence, and more in line with like our thoughts, and the mental realms. So Qi is like the Jing, Qi, Shen thing. They're always transforming between these two shapes. So it's like Qi is kind of the transition between the physical, the Jing, and the spiritual, the Shen. Does semen retention help with opening the third eye? Is your third eye opening, or is your third eye open? It can help, because what I'm finding is that it's not very sustainable to just be like, oh, I'm gonna open my third eye, because when you open these higher centers and you don't have a good ground in the lower centers, it's just asking for imbalance and like improper Kundalini experience, which is not a pleasant thing. I've been through it myself. And so kind of the model I'm following is the Taoist alchemical model, which is much more grounded in my opinion, because you build the Dantian. So you start from the foundation, you build a strong foundation, you build the lower Dantian, then naturally the upper two Dantians start to activate as well. So you start to naturally activate these energy centers one step at a time. So by the time you get to the crown, the third eye center, you're grounded. You're able to handle this high charge of cosmic energy. You don't go crazy, and like a lot of people do from this stuff. So that's my own experience with it. Let me know about how semen recirculates in the normal practice of masturbation, sex, full body orgasm. So the semen itself is not circulating. It's the essence of the semen. It's the jing qi that it's called. It's kind of like the steam that's formed from the semen. So the semen doesn't move. It stays in the balls. There's no physical place for the semen to move other places in the body. But it's energetically, you're tapping into that energy. That's what you're circulating throughout the body, and you feel it. It's an energy. Does the universe tend to go your way while on semen retention? It depends. It's like, again, semen retention, you're just building energy. You're just building more energy, which is not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing for some people. If you have a lot of unconscious negative patterns, then you have more energy to put into those things. So that's why when you're on semen retention, I personally believe that you should be doing meditation, self-cultivation practices, energetic practices to keep yourself balanced. And then you get, more tuned into the universe and things flow better in your life. That's been my experience. What's the indication that you were successful in retaining your semen after stimulation? What if there's some small amount of discharge after relaxation? So you'll know because you haven't lost any semen and you don't urinate it out. You've had a retrograde ejaculation if you go to urinate and there's like a bunch of semen in it. It'll be like really foamy. There'll be like floaty things in it. So that's how you know whether you've done it correctly or not. Sometimes you'll have small amounts of sperm come out. It's not a big deal. But you can avoid this by not getting too close to the point of no return and by keeping the PC muscle, the pelvic floor relaxed instead of squeezing it a lot. That tends to lead to these small contractions that eject small amounts of sperm. All right, guys, I'm going to answer a couple more questions, then I have to jump off. Do you reckon it has more benefits to do younger semen retention? It depends. It's very individual by your own nature. Some people can, some men recover from ejaculation better than others, but it depends, what your patterns are. Sometimes older people notice the benefits more because when you're young, often you have this huge reservoir of sexual energy. So it takes, it's often not till like your late 20s or 30s that this sexual exhaustion starts to catch up to you. Do you believe the most powerful families in the world practices? I don't know. Good question. It's possible. I know that they do some weird shit, so that's all I can say about that. Do you personally know if years of masturbation and porn can cause mood disorders, anxiety, depression, bipolar? Are you aware of any research on it? I will say that definitely can be a connection there. Personally, when I was masturbating every day to porn, which I did for years and years, I was very depressed, had anxiety, low motivation, and stopping that just completely shifted my mood, my energy levels, my mental health. So there can definitely be a connection. I haven't seen a lot of, I haven't really looked into the research on it, but Okay, guys, any last questions? I'm going to jump off here. Have you gone through a spiritual awakening since semen retention? Well, I had a spiritual awakening. I mean, I've had different degrees of, spiritual unfoldment of my spiritual awakening, I could say. And it started before semen retention, but I will say that, I've done a lot of spiritual practice since I started semen retention. So it's definitely a further unfoldment of, my own personal spiritual experience. Are reptilians behind porn? I don't know. Very suspicious, though. Supposedly they feed off of people's fear and negative emotions. And I mean, someone's feeding off all this. Something, I will say, is feeding off all this gene that men are just ejecting out into the universe when they're masturbating to porn. We could say it's forming this whole collective astral entity that's just feeding on people's gene that they're just happily ejaculating out to porn every day. I've been building the lower Dantian, and I feel heat there. I'm planning to practice microcosmic orbit next. What is the point of this, and what can I expect from the microcosmic orbit? Well, I get into the benefits of the microcosmic orbit in my YouTube video about it, but basically it forms this loop throughout the body. The microcosmic orbit connects to all the other energy meridians in the body, so it basically is this delivery system of energy through the body, and then you can start to use that for your sexual energy as well to tap into full body orgasm. There's a lot of medical energetic benefits to the microcosmic orbit. Awesome. Thanks, Zachary. Why do you think so many girls cut themselves these days and take all kinds of antidepressants? I mean, it's a true thing. That was a big thing in high school for me. I remember it was like people cutting themselves. And it's like this weird shit because we're in such a kind of a mess of a world, we could say. We're so conditioned to believe that we should be a certain way, look a certain way, and there's just so much pressure put on people, both women and men, and it comes out in mental disorders. And there's so many layers to it. We're just bombarded with all this negative conditioning, and kind of the state of the world, unfortunately. But doing the best I can to change that in my own way. Okay, guys, I'm going to do 1 or 2 more questions, then I got to jump off. Okay, what would be the best advice for someone who's addicted to pornography and masturbation and newly sober? Find a daily practice. Find new things to put your energy into. Be productive, be creative. Go to the gym, exercise, eat healthy foods, meditate. Do Qigong. It's an incredible practice. I have a whole playlist of Qigong practices on my YouTube channel, so that's the best advice I can give for sure. Okay, guys, thanks for joining. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Oh, and one last thing. I'm teaching a free webinar on February 8th. It's called How to Turn Your Sex Drive into Success. I'm going to be talking about basically, all men, we have this huge sex drive that's driving us to look at porn, get laid, whatever. Well, you can take that sex drive and instead turn it into creating your dream life for you, being successful, building a business, whatever you want to do, being balanced and happy. So that's what I'm going to be covering in this webinar. So you can sign up to that. There's a link in my latest YouTube video, and there's a link in my Instagram bio. So it's the How to Turn Your Sex Drive into Success webinar. All right, guys, I will see you next time. Have a good one.